What if the Great Pyramids are just the tip of an advanced civilization? Standing in the shadow of Giza, most visitors see monuments to ancient ambition tombs built for pharaohs, symbols of a civilization's reach toward immortality. But what if we've been looking at this wrong? What if these massive stone giants, precise beyond explanation, are not endings but beginnings? Not the peak achievement of a culture we think we understand, but merely the visible tips of something far more vast and sophisticated lurking beneath the desert sands. Tonight we descend beneath the familiar narrative, following threads that weave through underground chambers, impossible engineering, and knowledge that seems to have appeared from nowhere. We'll explore the possibility that the Great Pyramids are not monuments to the dead, but markers, beacons pointing toward a civilization so advanced, so carefully hidden, that we've mistaken its artifacts for the whole story. If you're drawn to mysteries that challenge everything we think we know about our past, take a moment to like this exploration and subscribe to join our community of questioners, and tell us in the comments, where are you listening from tonight, and what time has brought you to these ancient questions? I love seeing how our curiosity connects us across the world. The story we've been told is elegant in its simplicity. Around 2580 BCE, during Egypt's 4th dynasty, Pharaoh Khufu commissioned the construction of what would become the Great Pyramid of Giza. Using copper tools, wooden rollers, and the raw strength of thousands of workers, his engineers quarried, transported, and precisely positioned over 2.3 million limestone blocks, each weighing between 2 and 15 tons. The result was a monument 481 feet tall, perfectly aligned with cardinal directions, its base covering 13 acres with mathematical precision that rivals modern construction. This narrative, taught in classrooms and museums worldwide, presents the pyramid as the culmination of centuries of gradual architectural evolution. We trace the progression from the early mastabas' rectangular tomb structures through the stepped pyramid of Giza at Saqqara to the bent pyramid at Dahshur, where architects supposedly learned from their mistakes before achieving the geometric perfection of Giza. It's a story of human ingenuity, trial and error, and the inexorable march of technological progress. But even as we recite these familiar facts, cracks appear in the foundation of this orthodox timeline. The step from bent pyramid to Great Pyramid is not incremental, it's revolutionary. The difference in precision, scale, and sophistication suggests not gradual improvement, but a quantum leap in capability that appears almost overnight in archaeological terms. Consider the baseline measurements. The Great Pyramid's base perimeter of 323 feet differs from a perfect square by less than 2 inches. Its orientation to true north is accurate to within 3/60th of a degree, precision that wasn't matched by human construction until the advent of modern surveying equipment. The pyramid incorporates the mathematical constant pi in its proportions, with the ratio of its height to its base perimeter approximating pi to several decimal places. This mathematical relationship wasn't formally recognized by Western mathematics until the 18th century, yet here it stands, encoded in stone for over 4 millennia. The mainstream explanation suggests this precision emerged from practical experience and keen observation. Ancient Egyptian architects, we're told, developed sophisticated techniques for measuring angles and distances, using rope stretchers and plumb lines to achieve remarkable accuracy. The incorporation of pi, according to this view, was likely coincidental, a byproduct of using rollers of specific dimensions to create the pyramid's slope. Yet this explanation struggles with the sheer scope of what was allegedly accomplished with primitive tools. The quarrying alone represents a monumental challenge. The pyramid's limestone blocks were extracted from quarries south of Giza, while its internal granite chambers were built from stone quarried 500 miles away in Aswan. Moving these materials would have required a logistics operation of staggering complexity, involving thousands of workers, massive ramps, and precisely coordinated timing. Egyptologists have proposed various theories for how this was achieved. The most accepted model suggests a series of ramps spiraling around the pyramid's exterior, allowing workers to drag blocks upward using copper-tipped sledges and wooden rollers. As the pyramid grew taller, these ramps would have been extended and reinforced, creating a massive earthwork larger than the pyramid itself. Once construction was complete, these ramps would have been dismantled and the material removed, leaving no trace for future archaeologists to discover. This absence of evidence is, according to mainstream archaeology, exactly what we should expect. Ancient Egyptians were meticulous about cleaning up construction sites, and the desert winds and sands of 4,000 years would have scoured away any remaining traces. The lack of ramps, they argue, is not evidence against their existence, but proof of Egyptian thoroughness. But this explanation requires us to believe that a civilization that left detailed records of trade agreements, religious ceremonies, and administrative procedures somehow failed to document the construction of their greatest architectural achievement. The hieroglyphic record is remarkably silent about the actual building methods used for the pyramids. We have extensive documentation about pyramid complexes, their religious significance, the rituals performed there, the materials used in their construction, but virtually nothing about how blocks weighing several tons were lifted hundreds of feet into the air. More puzzling still is the sudden appearance of pyramid building technology in the historical record. The tools and techniques allegedly used to construct the Great Pyramid don't show up in a clear developmental sequence. There are no prototypes of the massive copper saws supposedly used to cut limestone, no intermediate examples of the rope and pulley systems that would have been necessary for moving such weights, no workshop areas where such techniques could have been perfected. It's as if the knowledge arrived fully formed, was applied to create one of humanity's most impressive monuments, and then largely disappeared from the archaeological record. The pyramids that followed Giza show a marked decline in both size and precision, suggesting that whatever knowledge created the Great Pyramid was either lost or deliberately withheld from subsequent generations. This patterned sudden appearance, brief flowering then decline, is not unique to pyramid construction. We see it repeatedly in ancient Egyptian history. The knowledge of working with diorite and granite, stones so hard they require steel tools by modern standards, appears suddenly in the archaeological record, produces masterpieces like the statues of Khafre, then largely vanishes. The ability to create perfectly smooth, mirror-like surfaces on stone demonstrated in the sarcophagus within the Great Pyramid appears without precedent and disappears without explanation. The official timeline also struggles with the pyramid's internal architecture. The Great Pyramid contains not one burial chamber but three, connected by a network of passages that extends both above and below the structure's base. The Grand Gallery, a soaring corbelled hallway that rises at a 26-degree angle toward the king's chamber, represents a feat of engineering that would challenge modern builders. Its walls lean inward at precisely calculated angles, transferring the massive weight of stone above through a system of stress distribution that wasn't formally understood until the 19th century. The king's chamber itself houses one of the most precisely machined objects from the ancient world, a granite sarcophagus that was somehow maneuvered into place, despite being larger than the passages leading to the chamber. This suggests either that the sarcophagus was placed before the pyramid was completed, requiring incredible foresight and planning, or that there are access routes we haven't discovered. The acoustic properties of the pyramid's interior spaces add another layer of mystery. The king's chamber resonates at specific frequencies that seem to have been deliberately engineered. When struck, the granite coffer produces a tone that matches the fundamental frequency of the chamber itself, creating harmonic effects that transform the space into what some researchers describe as a massive resonating instrument. These properties are not mentioned in any Egyptian text, yet they are too precise to be accidental. Below ground, the pyramid's foundation extends deeper than most people realize. Ground-penetrating radar and seismic surveys have revealed that the pyramid sits atop a network of natural and possibly modified cavities within the bedrock. Some of these spaces appear to be connected to the pyramid's internal chambers through passages that remain unexplored. The existence of these subterranean features raises questions about whether the pyramid was built not just on the plateau, but into it, utilizing pre-existing structures or natural formations that offered specific advantages. The precision with which the pyramid aligns to astronomical phenomena presents perhaps the greatest challenge to the conventional timeline. The pyramid's passages align with specific stars and constellations as they appeared in ancient times, but the calculations required to achieve this level of astronomical accuracy would have required observations spanning centuries. The Egyptians would have needed to track the slow movement of stars due to precession, the wobble of Earth's axis that causes star positions to shift over thousands of years. Yet the astronomical knowledge implied by the pyramid's construction exceeds what we can document in surviving Egyptian texts. The mathematical relationships encoded in the pyramid go beyond pi to include the golden ratio, Earth's dimensional proportions, and harmonic intervals that relate to musical theory. The chances of these relationships appearing by coincidence are astronomical, yet the mathematical sophistication they represent seems to exceed what we know of Fourth Dynasty capabilities. As we examine these anomalies, the sudden appearance of unprecedented capabilities, the precision that exceeds the available tools, the astronomical knowledge that implies centuries of observation, the mathematical relationships that wouldn't be formalized for millennia, a different picture begins to emerge. What if the story we've been told is not wrong but incomplete? What if the Great Pyramid represents not the peak of a civilization we know, but evidence of one we've barely begun to understand? The surface story, for all its elegance, asks us to accept too many impossibilities, too many coincidences, too many sudden appearances without precedent. It requires us to believe that human ingenuity, working with copper tools and rope, achieved a level of precision that we struggle to match with modern machinery. Perhaps it's time to consider that the Great Pyramid is exactly what it appears to be, evidence of capabilities far exceeding what the conventional timeline allows. Not the culmination of gradual development, but a marker pointing toward knowledge and technology whose sources remain hidden from our current understanding. The pyramid stands not as proof of what we know about ancient Egypt, but as a monument to what we don't know, a stone enigma that challenges every assumption we've made about the progression of human capability. And if that's true, then everything else we think we understand about our past may need to be reconsidered as well. When surveyor John Herschel first measured the Great Pyramid in 1839, he discovered something that shouldn't have been possible with the tools allegedly available to its builders. The structure's base formed a square so precise that its sides varied by less than 2.3 centimeters across a perimeter of nearly a kilometer. To put this in perspective, modern construction projects using laser-guided equipment rarely achieve tolerances this exact. The pyramid's builders, working supposedly with copper tools and rope measuring devices, had achieved a level of precision that wouldn't be matched again until the advent of steel instruments and electronic surveying. But precision in the base was only the beginning. As Herschel and subsequent surveyors mapped the pyramid's dimensions, they uncovered layer after layer of mathematical relationships that seemed to encode fundamental constants about our planet, our solar system, and mathematical principles that wouldn't be formally recognized for thousands of years. The pyramid's height-to-base ratio approximates pi with an accuracy that extends to the fourth decimal place. This means that if you take the pyramid's original height of 481 feet and divide it by half the length of its base side, you get 3.416 to be accurate to a degree that medieval European mathematicians could only dream of achieving. The conventional explanation suggests this was coincidental, arising from the Egyptians' use of rollers with specific circumferences in their construction process. But this explanation requires us to believe that ancient workers, concerned primarily with moving massive blocks of stone, happened to choose roller dimensions that would encode one of mathematics' most important constants. The golden ratio, that mystical proportion found throughout nature and considered aesthetically perfect by artists and architects, appears repeatedly in the pyramid's design. The ratio of the pyramid's height to its base diagonal approximates 5, 1.618, with remarkable precision. The King's Chamber's length-to-width ratio also embodies the golden ratio, as does the relationship between various internal passages. These proportions weren't simply decorative choices. They required sophisticated mathematical understanding to calculate and precise engineering to implement. Even more remarkably, the pyramid seems to encode information about Earth itself. Its base perimeter, when multiplied by the speed of light, approximates the circumference of Earth to within a fraction of a percent. The pyramid's height relates to the distance between Earth and the Sun in ratios that suggest knowledge of astronomical distances that weren't accurately measured until the modern era. The structure's mass correlates with Earth's mass in proportions that imply understanding of gravitational constants and planetary physics. These mathematical relationships might be dismissed as coincidental if they appeared individually, but their cumulative precision defies probability. Each additional correlation reduces the likelihood that these relationships arose by chance, until we're confronted with odds so astronomical that coincidence becomes essentially impossible. The precision extends beyond abstract mathematics into the realm of practical engineering. The pyramid's construction required moving and positioning blocks with tolerances measured in millimeters. Joint lines between stones are so tight that even today you cannot slide a knife blade between them. This precision was achieved not just on the pyramid's exterior, where appearance mattered, but throughout its internal structure, in chambers and passages that were never intended to be seen by human eyes. The granite blocks used in the King's Chamber present particular engineering challenges. Granite ranks 6-7 on the Mohs hardness scale, making it nearly impossible to work with copper tools which rank only 2.53. Yet these blocks were not only cut to precise dimensions, but polished to mirror-like finishes that reflect light, with minimal distortion. The surfaces are so flat that modern precision instruments struggle to detect variations across their entire area. The sarcophagus within the King's Chamber represents perhaps the most impressive example of ancient machining precision. Carved from a single block of red granite, its internal cavity was hollowed out to tolerances that modern stone masons describe as impossible to achieve without power tools. The walls of the cavity are perfectly parallel. The corners form precise right angles, and the entire interior was polished to a glass-like finish. Even more puzzling, the sarcophagus was carved to specific harmonic proportions. When struck, it resonates at frequencies that create standing wave patterns within the chamber itself. This level of precision in stonework requires not just skilled craftsmanship but sophisticated understanding of the material's properties. Granite's crystalline structure makes it prone to fracturing along unpredictable lines when subjected to mechanical stress. Working with such material demands tools hard enough to cut through quartz crystals and techniques refined enough to avoid triggering structural failures that would ruin months of work. Archaeological evidence suggests the Egyptians possessed copper saws with teeth embedded with harder materials, possibly diamond dust or corundum. But even diamond-embedded tools require tremendous force to cut through granite effectively. The cutting rates would have been agonizingly slow, and the wear on tools would have been enormous. To hollow out the sarcophagus alone would have required multiple tool replacements and months of continuous work by master craftsmen. Yet we have no archaeological evidence of workshops equipped for such precision work. The tools allegedly used haven't been found in quantities that would support the massive stoneworking operations implied by the pyramid's construction. The debris and waste products from such extensive machining operations are absent from archaeological sites. It's as if the pyramid's granite components were manufactured somewhere else entirely and transported to Giza fully finished. The transportation challenges add another layer to the precision mystery. Moving multi-ton granite blocks from Aswan to Giza, a journey of 500 miles would have required sophisticated logistics and engineering. The blocks would need to be loaded onto barges, transported down the Nile during flood season, then moved overland to the construction site. Each transfer point would risk damage to the precisely machined surfaces, yet the final installation shows no signs of impact or abrasion. More puzzling still is how these massive blocks were maneuvered into their final positions within the pyramid's internal structure. The King's Chamber is accessible only through passages too narrow to accommodate the sarcophagus, which weighs several tons and measures larger in all dimensions than the entrance routes. This suggests either that the sarcophagus was installed before the pyramid's upper chambers were completed, requiring incredible foresight and planning, or that there are access routes we haven't discovered. The acoustic precision built into these chambers represents another category of engineering sophistication. The King's Chamber functions as a resonating cavity tuned to specific frequencies. When activated by sound, the chamber produces harmonics that create standing wave patterns throughout the space. The granite coffer acts as both a resonator and a tuning device, its dimensions calculated to reinforce the chamber's natural frequency. This acoustic engineering extends throughout the pyramid's internal passages. The Grand Gallery, with its precisely corbelled walls and specific dimensional ratios, functions as a resonating tube that amplifies and focuses sound travelling between the pyramid's chambers. The angles of its walls and the positioning of its recesses create harmonic relationships that transform the entire internal structure into a massive acoustic instrument. The precision required to achieve these acoustic properties demands understanding of wave physics, harmonic mathematics, and material resonance that wouldn't be formally codified until the modern era. Yet somehow, using allegedly primitive tools and techniques, the pyramid's builders created a structure that functions as effectively as a modern concert hall, designed with computer-aided acoustics. The astronomical precision built into the pyramid's orientation and internal alignments presents equally challenging questions. The structure aligns to true north with an accuracy of 3/60th of a degree, a precision that requires not just sophisticated surveying techniques, but detailed understanding of celestial mechanics. The pyramid's internal passages align with specific stars and constellations, but these alignments account for precession, the slow wobble of Earth's axis that causes star positions to shift over periods of thousands of years. Calculating these precessional alignments would have required astronomical observations spanning centuries, mathematical models for predicting stellar movement, and surveying techniques capable of translating celestial coordinates into precise terrestrial orientations. The knowledge base implied by these calculations exceeds what we can document in surviving Egyptian astronomical texts by orders of magnitude. The precision extends even to details that seem almost impossibly refined. The pyramid's sides are not perfectly flat but slightly concaved, curving inward by a few centimetres at their centres. This concavity serves both structural and optical purposes. It strengthens the walls against outward pressure, while creating subtle light effects that make the pyramid appear to change shape as shadows move across its surfaces throughout the day. Calculating this concavity requires understanding of structural engineering, optics, and the precise effects of solar illumination angles across different seasons. Every measurement we take of the Great Pyramid reveals new layers of precision that challenge our assumptions about ancient capabilities. The structure was not built to approximate perfection. It was built to embody it, encoding mathematical constants, astronomical relationships, and engineering principles with accuracy that exceeds what seems possible given the conventional timeline of human technological development. This precision appears nowhere else in ancient Egyptian architecture with such consistency and sophistication. Later pyramids show significant degradation in both accuracy and engineering ambition, as if the knowledge that created the Great Pyramid was either lost or deliberately withheld. The precision that characterizes Giza seems to represent not an evolution of existing techniques, but the application of knowledge systems that arrived fully formed and then largely disappeared from the historical record. Perhaps most tellingly, attempts to replicate even small portions of the pyramid's precision using historically accurate tools have largely failed. Modern experimental archaeologists working with copper implements, wooden rollers, and rope have managed to move large stones and achieve rough approximations of pyramid-building techniques, but none have approached the dimensional accuracy and surface finishes that characterize the original structure. The precision of the Great Pyramid stands as a direct challenge to everything we think we know about the limitations of ancient technology. It suggests capabilities that exceed not just what we would expect from 4th Dynasty Egypt, but what seems possible given any known ancient civilization. This precision is not merely impressive, it's impossible, unless we're willing to consider that the knowledge and techniques that created it came from sources we haven't yet identified or understood. Beneath the limestone blocks and tourist pathways of the Giza Plateau lies a labyrinth of chambers, passages, and voids that most visitors never glimpse. While the public focuses on the visible pyramids above ground, a growing body of evidence suggests that the real mystery may lie in what we cannot see, a network of subterranean spaces that could dwarf the monuments that mark them. Modern ground-penetrating radar and seismic surveys have revealed anomalies in the bedrock beneath all three Giza pyramids, suggesting the presence of void spaces and structural features that don't appear on any official map. These readings indicate chambers and corridors extending far beyond the documented internal passages, some reaching depths of several hundred feet beneath the plateau's surface. The data suggests not random cavities, but deliberately constructed spaces arranged in patterns that mirror and extend the geometry of the structures above. The first hints of this hidden architecture emerged in the early 20th century when British engineer Wayneman Dixon discovered previously unknown shafts within the Great Pyramid. These narrow passages, extending from the Queen's Chamber toward the pyramid's exterior, were sealed at both ends and seemed to serve no obvious function in the conventional tomb theory. When robotically explored decades later, these shafts revealed sophisticated construction features including precisely cut stone blocks that appeared to serve as doors or seals, complete with copper fittings whose purpose remains unknown. But these discoveries were merely the beginning. Subsequent investigations using increasingly sophisticated detection equipment have revealed a complex network of voids and passages that extend far beyond what early archaeologists documented. In 2017, an international team using cosmic ray imaging, a technique that detects density variations in stone by measuring how cosmic particles pass through different materials, identified a massive void above the Grand Gallery that rivals the gallery itself in size. This big void, as researchers termed it, measures at least 30 meters long and several meters high, representing a space larger than many of the pyramid's known chambers. Its function remains completely unknown, as does the method by which ancient builders could have created such a large cavity without compromising the structural integrity of the millions of tons of stone above it. The void's position suggests it was deliberately incorporated into the pyramid's design, not created by accident or structural failure. Even more intriguing are the spaces that appear to exist beneath the pyramid's foundations. Seismic mapping has identified what appear to be natural cave systems that have been modified and expanded with artificial passages. These subterranean networks seem to connect not only to the pyramids themselves but to each other, suggesting an underground infrastructure that links all three major monuments and possibly extends to other structures across the plateau. The Sphinx, that enigmatic guardian carved from the bedrock itself, may be the key to understanding this hidden architecture. Geological surveys have detected large void spaces directly beneath the Sphinx, chambers that appear to be artificial rather than natural formations. These spaces are accessible through passages that ancient texts hint at but that remain officially unexplored. The Hall of Records, described in the psychic readings of Edgar Cayce and mentioned in various esoteric traditions, allegedly lies in a chamber beneath the Sphinx's right paw. While mainstream archaeology dismisses these claims, ground-penetrating radar has indeed detected significant anomalies in exactly the area Cayce specified. These anomalies suggest chambers large enough to house substantial archives, connected to the surface through passages that were deliberately concealed. Recent explorations have revealed that the bedrock beneath Giza is riddled with both natural and artificial tunnels. Some of these passages follow natural fissures in the limestone, while others show clear signs of human modification walls that have been smoothed and straightened, ceilings that have been raised to accommodate human passage, floors that have been levelled and paved. The extent of this underground network remains largely unmapped, but what has been documented suggests a subterranean infrastructure that could rival medieval European castle complexes in scope and sophistication. One of the most significant of these underground features is the Osiris shaft, discovered in the 1990s by Zahi Hawass and his team. This complex descends through multiple levels beneath the Giza plateau, reaching depths of over 100 feet below the surface. The shaft's construction shows precision stonework that rivals anything in the pyramids above, with granite-lined passages and chambers that were clearly designed for specific functions that remain mysterious. The Osiris shaft's deepest level contains a chamber partially filled with water, creating a subterranean pool surrounded by massive granite pillars. The water level appears to be connected to the Nile's seasonal fluctuations, suggesting that this underground space was designed to interact with Egypt's most vital natural resource. The chamber's architecture incorporates sophisticated drainage systems and water management features that demonstrate advanced hydraulic engineering. But perhaps most intriguingly, the dating of the Osiris shaft doesn't align with conventional Egyptian chronology. The construction techniques and architectural style suggest it predates the pyramid complex by substantial margins, possibly by thousands of years. This raises profound questions about who built these underground spaces and for what purpose, as well as whether the pyramids above were constructed to mark and utilize pre-existing subterranean infrastructure. Electromagnetic surveys of the Giza Plateau have revealed additional anomalies that suggest the presence of metallic objects or structures buried deep underground. These readings indicate materials that don't naturally occur in limestone bedrock, possibly including worked metals or crystalline formations that could represent technological artifacts or construction materials unlike anything documented in mainstream Egyptology. The acoustic properties of these underground spaces add another layer of mystery. Sound tests conducted in accessible chambers have revealed that these spaces were designed with specific acoustic characteristics in mind. Some chambers amplify and focus sound in ways that create unusual psychological and physiological effects on visitors. Others seem to dampen sound completely, creating zones of absolute silence that can be profoundly disorienting. These acoustic effects suggest that whoever designed these underground spaces understood the psychological and possibly physiological effects of sound on human consciousness. The chambers seem engineered to create specific states of awareness, whether through resonant frequencies that promote meditative states or through harmonic intervals that induce altered consciousness. Water plays a central role in this underground architecture that extends far beyond simple drainage. The subterranean chambers seem designed to channel and utilize groundwater in sophisticated ways, creating systems that could have provided fresh water, cooling, and possibly energy generation through hydraulic mechanisms. The precision with which these water management systems were constructed suggests engineering capabilities that exceed what we normally associate with ancient civilizations. The extent of water-related construction beneath Giza includes artificial channels that appear to connect the plateau to the Nile River, allowing for controlled water flow between the underground chambers and Egypt's primary water source. These channels show evidence of sophisticated hydraulic engineering, with lock systems and flow control mechanisms that demonstrate advanced understanding of water dynamics and pressure management. Recent investigations have also revealed that the underground spaces contain artificial lighting systems whose mechanisms remain unclear. Some chambers show evidence of soot-free illumination spaces that were clearly used extensively, but show no signs of torch or oil lamp usage. The walls in these areas sometimes display a faint luminescence that persists even in complete darkness, suggesting lighting systems based on unknown principles. The construction materials used in these underground spaces often differ significantly from those used in the pyramids above. While the visible monuments primarily use local limestone with some granite components, the subterranean chambers frequently incorporate stones that had to be transported from distant quarries, including varieties of granite, basalt, and other hard stones that required sophisticated quarrying and transportation techniques. Some of these underground chambers contain architectural features that don't appear anywhere else in documented Egyptian construction. These include precision-cut stone blocks that fit together without mortar, yet create perfectly sealed joints, ventilation systems that maintain air circulation without visible openings to the surface, and structural elements that demonstrate load-bearing techniques not found in conventional Egyptian engineering. The arrangement of these underground spaces suggests they were designed as an integrated system rather than as isolated chambers. Passages connect different areas in ways that create circulation patterns, allowing movement between chambers while maintaining security and environmental control. This suggests that the underground complex was designed for regular use by people who understood its layout and purpose. Security features built into these spaces indicate that whoever constructed them was concerned about unauthorized access. Many passages include sophisticated blocking mechanisms, false passages that lead to dead ends, and chambers that can only be accessed through concealed entrances. These security measures suggest that the underground complex housed something valuable enough to require protection from intrusion. The preservation of these underground spaces is remarkable, with many chambers showing minimal degradation despite their age and the weight of stone above them. This preservation suggests that the construction incorporated techniques for long-term stability that exceed what we see in many modern underground construction projects. The environmental controls that maintain stable temperature and humidity in these spaces remain functional after millennia, indicating engineering sophistication that we struggle to understand. As we map more of this hidden architecture, a picture emerges of infrastructure that was designed for purposes that go far beyond simple burial preparation or religious ceremony. These spaces suggest a complex underground civilization, or at least sophisticated underground operations that required permanent facilities capable of supporting substantial human activity over extended periods. The question that haunts every new discovery is not just what these spaces were used for, but by whom. The precision of construction, the sophistication of engineering, and the scale of the undertaking suggest capabilities that exceed what we can document for any known ancient Egyptian dynasty. These underground spaces may represent the work of a civilization whose capabilities we have barely begun to understand, one that chose to build its most important infrastructure beneath the ground rather than above it. In the archives of Egypt's ancient texts, scattered through the writings of classical historians and preserved in the oral traditions of cultures around the world, we find recurring references to builders whose capabilities seem to transcend the limitations of their supposed time periods. These are not the pharaohs whose names are carved in stone, nor the architects whose plans are documented in papyrus. These are the invisible ones, the masters whose knowledge appears suddenly in the historical record, creates wonders that endure for millennia, then vanishes as mysteriously as it arrived. The Greeks called them the Atlanteans, inheritors of a civilization that possessed knowledge of engineering and mathematics that would not be formally rediscovered for thousands of years. Plato's account in the Timaeus and Critias describes builders who could move massive stones through techniques unknown to his contemporaries, who understood the properties of sound and light in ways that enabled them to create structures with seemingly magical properties. But the Greek accounts are merely echoes of older traditions. In the pyramid texts, some of the oldest religious writings known to humanity, we find references to the followers of Horus, beings who are described as the original builders and the keepers of ancient knowledge. These texts speak of a time before the pharaohs when Egypt was ruled by Neteru beings, whose knowledge encompassed both the material and spiritual sciences, who could work with stone as if it were clay, and who understood the deeper mysteries of mathematics and astronomy. The Egyptian priest Manetho, writing in the 3rd century BCE, preserved even older traditions that spoke of two distinct periods in Egypt's prehistoric past, the reign of the gods and the reign of the demigods. According to these accounts, the god-kings possessed knowledge that enabled them to build structures of incredible precision and durability. They were followed by the demigods, who retained portions of this knowledge but lacked the full capabilities of their predecessors. Only after these two prehistoric periods did purely human dynasties begin to rule Egypt. These accounts align remarkably with physical evidence from the pyramid complex itself. The oldest structures at Giza, those showing the greatest precision and most advanced engineering, are attributed in conventional chronology to the earliest period of pyramid building. But this creates a historical anomaly. The most sophisticated examples appear first, followed by increasingly crude attempts to replicate their achievements. This is the opposite of what we would expect from technological development, which typically shows gradual improvement over time. The inventory stela, discovered near the Great Pyramid in the 19th century, contains inscriptions that contradict the conventional timeline entirely. According to this text, the Great Pyramid and Sphinx already existed when Khufu began his reign. The stela describes Khufu as restoring these monuments rather than building them, suggesting they were already ancient when the 4th dynasty began. While mainstream Egyptology dismisses this stela as a later fabrication, Its content aligns with other textual evidence that suggests the major Giza monuments predate their supposed construction periods. In the Turin King list and other ancient Egyptian chronologies, we find references to reigns that lasted thousands of years, time periods that make sense only if we consider that these early rulers were not ordinary humans operating within normal human lifespans. The reigns attributed to the followers of Horus span periods that would encompass multiple human generations, suggesting either that these accounts preserve memories of long-term building projects or that the builders themselves operated on timescales that exceed normal human capacity. The precision machining evident in Egypt's hardest stone monuments, those made from granite, diorite and basalt, appears suddenly in the archaeological record without any obvious developmental phase. Modern attempts to replicate this level of precision in hard stone using copper tools have universally failed, yet ancient Egyptian craftsmen allegedly achieved tolerances that modern stoneworkers describe as impossible without powered equipment. Experimental archaeologist Chris Dunn has documented evidence of advanced machining techniques throughout ancient Egyptian stonework. His analysis reveals tool marks that suggest the use of machinery operating at speeds and with precision that exceed what copper tools could accomplish. Core samples taken from drilled holes in granite show feed rates that would require machinery capable of applying tremendous pressure while maintaining perfect rotational stability. The surfaces of stone vessels found in pre-dynastic Egyptian sites show turning marks that indicate the use of precision lathes capable of working with extremely hard materials. The sudden appearance of these advanced techniques suggests knowledge transfer from sources not documented in the conventional historical record. Either Egyptian craftsmen developed incredibly sophisticated techniques that left no trace in terms of tool development and workshop archaeology, or they had access to knowledge and possibly equipment from sources that remain unidentified. The mathematical knowledge embedded in the Great Pyramid presents similar anomalies. The structure incorporates not only pi and the golden ratio, but also astronomical constants, planetary dimensional relationships, and harmonic ratios that demonstrate understanding of advanced mathematical principles. This knowledge appears without any documented developmental phase in Egyptian mathematics, suggesting it was introduced from external sources rather than discovered through local research and development. The astronomical alignments built into the pyramid complex demonstrate knowledge of celestial mechanics that requires observations spanning centuries if not millennia. The precision with which the monuments track various celestial cycles, including the precession of the equinoxes, a phenomenon that takes 25,120 years to complete, suggests that their builders had access to astronomical records accumulated over periods that far exceed the duration of any documented Egyptian dynasty. The acoustic engineering evident in the pyramid's internal chambers represents another category of knowledge that appears without precedent. The chambers were designed to create specific harmonic relationships that affect human consciousness in measurable ways. This suggests understanding of psychoacoustics, the study of how sound affects human psychology and physiology, that wouldn't be formally recognized by science until the 20th century. Modern research has confirmed that the frequencies generated within the Great Pyramid's chambers can induce altered states of consciousness, promote healing responses, and create profound psychological experiences. The precision with which these effects were engineered into the structure suggests that its builders understood not only the physics of sound, but also its effects on human neurology and psychology. The preservation techniques used in the pyramid's construction demonstrate knowledge of materials science that enable the structure to survive for over 4 millennia with minimal deterioration. The mortar used in joints has proven more durable than the limestone blocks it binds. The internal ventilation systems maintain stable temperature and humidity without any apparent maintenance systems. The structural engineering distributes the enormous weight of the monument so efficiently that there are no signs of settling or stress failure after thousands of years. These preservation techniques appear nowhere else in Egyptian construction with the same level of sophistication, suggesting they were the products of specialized knowledge rather than conventional building practices. The techniques seem designed for extreme longevity, as if the builders expected their work to endure for periods that far exceed normal architectural planning timescales. The precision with which the Great Pyramid encodes information about Earth's dimensions, the solar system's proportions and fundamental mathematical constants suggests that its builders possessed geodetic and astronomical knowledge that wouldn't be officially developed by human civilization until the modern era. The pyramid's base perimeter correlates with Earth's circumference at specific ratios that require knowledge of our planet's true dimensions. The monument's height relates to the distance between Earth and the Sun, in proportions that suggest accurate measurement of astronomical distances. This knowledge base implies either that ancient Egyptian astronomers achieved levels of precision in measurement and calculation that exceeded their documented capabilities by orders of magnitude, or that they had access to information derived from sources with advanced understanding of planetary and solar system mechanics. The legacy of these invisible builders extends far beyond Egypt. Similar evidence of impossible precision and advanced knowledge appears at ancient sites around the world, often in locations where conventional history suggests no contact should have existed between civilizations. The megaliths at Pumapunku in Bolivia show machining precision that rivals modern standards. The polygonal stonework at Sacsayhuaman in Peru demonstrates knowledge of structural engineering that enables walls to survive major earthquakes that destroy modern construction. The dolmens and stone circles throughout Europe incorporate astronomical alignments that require sophisticated understanding of celestial mechanics. The consistency of these achievements across widely separated cultures suggests either parallel development of identical advanced techniques, a statistical impossibility, or the influence of common sources of knowledge that operated on a global scale. The precision and sophistication of these achievements suggests that these sources possessed capabilities that exceeded anything documented in the conventional historical record. The question that emerges from examining this evidence is not whether advanced knowledge influenced ancient construction projects, but who possessed this knowledge and how it was transmitted across cultures and time periods. The precision and sophistication of the achievements attributed to these invisible builders suggest capabilities that approach or exceed modern standards in several technical areas. Whether these builders were representatives of an advanced prehistoric civilization, survivors of a cataclysm that destroyed earlier high cultures, or something else entirely, their influence on ancient human development appears undeniable. Their legacy challenges our understanding of human technological development and suggests that our current model of civilizational progress may be incomplete. The echoes of their presence fade into mystery, leaving only the monuments they created as testimony to capabilities that officially never existed. But the precision of their work and the sophistication of their knowledge continue to challenge every assumption we make about the limitations of ancient human achievement, forcing us to consider possibilities that extend far beyond the boundaries of conventional historical understanding. Across the ancient world, from the windswept plateaus of Egypt to the cloud-shrouded peaks of the Andes, we find evidence of knowledge systems that appear, flourish briefly, then deliberately withdraw from public view. This is not the gradual loss of techniques due to war or catastrophe, nor the natural decline that follows the death of master craftsmen. This is something more systematic, a pattern of concealment that suggests advanced capabilities were intentionally hidden from the broader population, preserved only within closed circles of initiated practitioners. The evidence for this concealment appears not in what ancient civilizations revealed about their methods, but in what they chose not to reveal. Despite the Egyptian civilization's meticulous record-keeping in areas of administration, trade, and religious practice, there are virtually no technical documents describing how their most impressive monuments were constructed. The precision techniques used to work granite and other hard stones, the methods for achieving astronomical alignments, the acoustic engineering principles built into sacred spaces, none of these appear in the extensive archives of Egyptian technical knowledge. This absence is not accidental. The Egyptians documented minute details of daily life, preserved records of trade agreements spanning centuries, and maintained detailed genealogies of royal and priestly lineages. They had the knowledge systems and institutional capacity to preserve technical information across generations. Their selective silence on the most sophisticated aspects of their construction techniques suggests deliberate choice rather than oversight. The pattern repeats across other ancient civilizations with similar consistency. The Inca maintained detailed quipu recording systems that preserved everything from tax records to astronomical observations. Yet the techniques for cutting and moving the massive polygonal stones that characterize their most impressive sites were never recorded in any form that survives today. The megalith builders of Europe left no written records at all, yet their monuments incorporate mathematical and astronomical knowledge that required centuries of observation and calculation to develop. This concealment served multiple purposes, all of which point toward the same conclusion. The most advanced knowledge was considered too powerful or too dangerous to be shared openly. In societies where information was the basis of political and religious authority, controlling access to certain types of knowledge was a matter of social stability and elite power. But the pattern suggests something more profound than simple political control. It suggests recognition that certain capabilities needed to be restricted to prevent their misuse. The mystery schools of the ancient world institutionalized this selective sharing of knowledge. From the Egyptian temples to the Eleusinian mysteries of Greece, to the initiated practices of various shamanic traditions, advanced knowledge was transmitted only to carefully selected individuals who underwent extensive preparation and testing. These systems weren't simply about maintaining religious authority, they were about ensuring that powerful techniques were practiced only by those with the wisdom and restraint to use them responsibly. The initiation processes described in various traditions share remarkable similarities. Despite their geographical and temporal separation, candidates underwent periods of isolation, intensive study, and psychological transformation designed to test their character as much as their intellectual capacity. Only those who demonstrated the proper combination of knowledge, wisdom, and ethical restraint were admitted to the inner circles where the most advanced techniques were practiced. These initiation systems suggest that ancient practitioners understood something modern civilization has been slow to recognize: that advanced capabilities without corresponding wisdom can be catastrophically dangerous. The atomic age has given us vivid demonstrations of this principle, but ancient mystery schools seem to have operated on the assumption that many forms of knowledge, not just those related to destructive capability, needed to be carefully guarded against misuse. The architectural evidence supports this interpretation. The most sophisticated ancient sites often incorporate multiple levels of accessibility, with publicly visible areas that demonstrate impressive but comprehensible techniques, while the most advanced engineering is hidden in spaces accessible only to initiates. The Great Pyramid exemplifies this pattern, with its external impressiveness masking internal chambers that incorporate far more sophisticated acoustic and architectural engineering. The underground chambers beneath the Giza plateau extend this concealment into literal depths. These spaces, carved with precision that matches or exceeds the visible monuments above, were clearly designed for activities that required privacy and security. Their construction incorporates features that suggest long-term occupation by people engaged in practices that needed to remain hidden from surface populations. The preservation of knowledge within these hidden systems required institutional continuity across centuries and millennia. The precision with which astronomical alignments were maintained across different construction phases suggests that design principles were transmitted accurately across multiple generations of builders. This level of continuity is impossible without sophisticated knowledge preservation systems that maintained both technical information and the wisdom to apply it appropriately. The gradual decline in precision and capability that characterizes later ancient construction projects suggests that these knowledge preservation systems eventually failed or were deliberately terminated. The techniques that created the most sophisticated monuments were either lost or withdrawn, leaving later generations with incomplete understanding of principles their predecessors had mastered. This decline wasn't gradual, as we might expect from natural knowledge degradation. Instead, it appears sudden and comprehensive, suggesting that knowledge withdrawal was systematic rather than accidental. Later Egyptian pyramids show not just reduced scale but fundamental misunderstanding of the engineering principles that made earlier construction possible. This pattern suggests that access to advanced techniques was cut off rather than gradually forgotten. Similar patterns appear worldwide wherever ancient sites show evidence of advanced capabilities. The most sophisticated examples typically appear earliest in local chronologies, followed by increasingly crude attempts to replicate their achievements. This reverse developmental pattern contradicts normal technological evolution, where later examples should show improvement rather than degradation. The concealment extended to the tools and equipment used in advanced construction. Despite extensive archaeological investigation, the tools supposedly used to achieve precision stonework in hard materials have never been found in quantities that would support the massive operations implied by ancient construction projects. Either these tools were systematically removed from archaeological sites, or they employed principles that modern archaeology doesn't recognize. The absence of workshop areas where advanced techniques could have been developed or practiced suggests that the most sophisticated work was performed in locations that remain undiscovered or in facilities that were deliberately dismantled to prevent discovery. The scale of precision work evident in ancient sites would have required extensive practice areas where craftsmen could perfect their techniques, yet such areas are notably absent from the archaeological record. The knowledge preservation systems used by ancient mystery schools incorporated safeguards against unauthorized access that exceeded simple physical security. The techniques were embedded in symbolic systems that required specific training to decode, making the information meaningless to those without proper preparation. Mathematical principles were embedded in mythological narratives, astronomical knowledge was preserved in ritual cycles, and engineering techniques were encoded in seemingly decorative architectural elements. These encoding systems served dual purposes. They preserved technical information across generations while ensuring that only properly trained practitioners could extract and apply it. Modern attempts to reverse engineer ancient techniques often fail, not because the information isn't available, but because the conceptual frameworks needed to understand it have been lost, along with the mystery school traditions that maintained them. The geographical distribution of sites showing evidence of advanced capabilities suggests that knowledge sharing occurred between ancient civilizations despite the vast distances and supposed lack of contact between them. Identical techniques appear at sites separated by thousands of miles and centuries of time, implying either parallel independent development, which is statistically impossible for such complex capabilities, or coordinated knowledge sharing among initiated practitioners operating across cultural boundaries. This global network of knowledge keepers suggests that the concealment operated on an international scale, with advanced practitioners maintaining contact across political and cultural divisions. The consistency of techniques and principles appearing at widely separated sites implies coordination that transcended normal diplomatic and trade relationships between ancient civilizations. The deliberate nature of this concealment becomes clear when we examine how completely the knowledge withdrawal was accomplished. In most cases, not only were the techniques lost, but the very awareness that such capabilities had once existed was systematically erased from cultural memory. Later generations were left with monuments whose construction methods had become incomprehensible, leading to mythological explanations that attributed their creation to gods or giants rather than human practitioners. This systematic erasure of technical memory suggests that the concealment was comprehensive and professionally executed. Simply hiding techniques would not have been sufficient. The knowledge that such techniques existed also had to be removed from cultural awareness to prevent future generations from attempting to rediscover them. This level of information control requires institutional capability and long-term planning that exceeds what we normally associate with ancient organizational capacity. The pattern of concealment that characterizes ancient advanced capabilities suggests that we are dealing not with isolated instances of unusual technical achievement, but with systematic management of knowledge by practitioners who understood both its power and its dangers. Their concealment systems have been so effective that modern civilization remains largely unaware that such capabilities ever existed, attributing the evidence we do find to luck coincidence, or misinterpretation. Yet the precision and sophistication of the achievements they left behind continue to challenge our understanding of ancient human capabilities. Their concealment may have protected their knowledge from misuse, but it also created a historical blind spot that prevents us from recognizing how much our predecessors actually knew about the deeper principles governing construction, mathematics, astronomy, and the relationship between human consciousness and environmental design. The guardians of this hidden knowledge may be gone, but their monuments remain as testimony to capabilities that officially never existed. Whether their concealment systems were ultimately successful in preserving what needed protection, or whether they simply delayed the rediscovery of dangerous knowledge, remains an open question as modern civilization develops capabilities that may rival or exceed those of our mysterious predecessors. In 1993, engineer Rudolf Gantenbrink sent a small robot crawler through the narrow shaft leading from the Queen's Chamber in the Great Pyramid. What the robot discovered at the end of the shaft stunned archaeologists. A perfectly fitted stone door, complete with copper fittings that appeared to serve as handles. The discovery suggested that the pyramid contained sealed chambers that had never been explored, potentially holding artifacts or information that could revolutionize our understanding of ancient Egyptian capabilities. The Egyptian authorities' response was swift and decisive. Gantenbrink's permission to explore was revoked, his equipment was confiscated, and further investigation of the shaft was suspended indefinitely. When pressed by international media about the discovery, officials offered vague explanations about protecting the pyramid's structural integrity, but the abrupt termination of what appeared to be one of the most significant archaeological discoveries in decades raised uncomfortable questions about what was being protected and why. This incident exemplifies a pattern that has characterized pyramid research for over a century, promising discoveries that are quickly classified, suppressed, or explained away by authorities who seem more interested in maintaining established narratives than in pursuing potentially revolutionary evidence. The pattern suggests that there are aspects of the pyramid complex that official archaeology is determined to keep from public scrutiny. The Gantenbrink incident was not isolated. Throughout the 20th century, researchers who approached too closely to breakthrough discoveries at Giza found their access revoked, their permits cancelled, and their findings dismissed or suppressed. Dr. Zahi Hawass, who served as Secretary General of Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities for many years, became notorious among independent researchers for his aggressive protection of orthodox interpretations and his willingness to terminate projects that threatened to challenge established timelines. In 1987, a Japanese team using non-invasive scanning techniques detected what appeared to be a chamber within the body of the Great Pyramid, positioned near the pyramid's base and distinct from any known internal space. The discovery, announced at an international conference, generated tremendous excitement in archaeological circles. Within weeks, however, the team's access was terminated and their findings were officially dismissed as equipment errors, despite the sophisticated nature of their scanning technology. Similar incidents have occurred with disturbing regularity. Ground-penetrating radar studies that detected extensive void spaces beneath the Sphinx were terminated when the results began suggesting chamber systems larger than the monument itself. Acoustic studies that revealed the harmonic properties of the pyramid's internal chambers were ended when researchers began documenting the consciousness-altering effects of the resonant frequencies. Seismic studies that mapped underground tunnel networks connecting all three Giza pyramids were classified and their results sealed from public access. The pattern extends beyond Egypt to other sites around the world where evidence of advanced ancient capabilities threatens established historical narratives. At Pumapunku in Bolivia, precision-machined stone blocks that show evidence of advanced tooling techniques are kept in storage areas with severely restricted access. Attempts to conduct detailed analysis of the cutting and drilling techniques used on these stones have been blocked by local authorities, despite the potential for revolutionary insights into ancient technological capabilities. In Peru, the polygonal stonework at sites like Sacsayhuaman and Ollantaytambo demonstrates precision fitting and earthquake-resistant engineering that exceeds modern capabilities. Yet detailed technical studies of these construction methods are routinely denied permission, with authorities citing concerns about site preservation. The irony is that understanding these ancient techniques could potentially improve modern construction methods in earthquake-prone regions, yet the knowledge remains locked away from researchers. The suppression extends to documentary evidence as well. Archives in various countries contain reports of discoveries that were classified or sealed shortly after their initial documentation. Former military personnel have described being stationed at remote archaeological sites, with instructions to prevent unauthorized access to areas where unusual discoveries had been made. Intelligence agencies have been linked to the acquisition and classification of artifacts that demonstrate technological capabilities supposedly beyond ancient achievement. One of the most intriguing cases involves the alleged discovery of advanced mechanical devices within sealed chambers beneath the Giza plateau. Multiple sources, speaking on condition of anonymity, have described artifacts that incorporate precision gearing, crystalline components, and alloy compositions that don't match any known ancient metallurgy. While these accounts cannot be independently verified due to classification restrictions, they come from credible sources within archaeological and engineering communities. The Vatican secret archives have been rumoured to contain extensive documentation about advanced ancient capabilities, including technical drawings and mathematical treatises that demonstrate knowledge systems far beyond what conventional history acknowledges. While the Vatican has allowed selected scholars access to portions of these archives, materials relating to ancient technological capabilities remain restricted, with access denied even to qualified researchers with legitimate academic credentials. Corporate interests have also been linked to the suppression of certain archaeological discoveries. Mining companies conducting operations in areas with significant ancient sites have occasionally uncovered artifacts or structures that suggest advanced capabilities. In several documented cases, these discoveries were classified by government agencies, and the sites were secured to prevent further unauthorized exploration. The involvement of private security firms in protecting certain archaeological sites suggests that commercial interests may be invested in controlling access to ancient knowledge systems. The development of increasingly sophisticated detection technologies has made suppression more challenging but also more systematic. Satellite imaging that reveals artificial structures buried beneath apparent natural landscapes is often classified or restricted through national security provisions. Ground-penetrating radar studies that map extensive underground tunnel systems are frequently terminated before completion, with results sealed under various legal provisions. The Internet age has made information control more difficult, but has also revealed the extent of official efforts to manage public awareness of controversial discoveries. Websites documenting anomalous archaeological findings are frequently subjected to cyber attacks or legal challenges. Researchers who publish evidence challenging established timelines often find their academic positions threatened or their funding sources compromised. Professional archaeologists face particular pressures when their research uncovers evidence that conflicts with established narratives. Career advancement in academic archaeology depends heavily on peer review and institutional support, creating strong incentives to avoid conclusions that challenge fundamental assumptions about ancient capabilities. Many researchers privately acknowledge encountering evidence that suggests far more advanced ancient technologies than they feel comfortable discussing publicly. The peer review process in archaeological journals has become a gatekeeping mechanism that effectively filters out evidence challenging orthodox interpretations. Papers documenting precision ancient machining, advanced mathematical knowledge, or sophisticated astronomical understanding are routinely rejected not on methodological grounds, but because their implications are considered too disruptive to accepted historical frameworks. Government involvement in archaeological suppression often occurs through permitting and access control systems. Sites with the greatest potential for revolutionary discoveries are frequently placed under restricted access, with research permits granted only to investigators whose work is unlikely to challenge established interpretations. Independent researchers with potentially disruptive methodologies find their permit applications delayed, denied, or revoked without clear explanation. The classification of certain archaeological discoveries under national security provisions reveals the extent to which ancient knowledge systems are considered sensitive information. The logic behind such classifications suggests that ancient technologies might have modern applications that governments prefer to control rather than release into public domain. This implies that suppressed discoveries may include not just artifacts, but functional knowledge systems with contemporary relevance. International coordination in archaeological suppression suggests that the control of ancient knowledge operates across national boundaries. Discoveries that threaten established historical narratives are often suppressed regardless of which country has jurisdiction, implying coordinated policies among major archaeological institutions and government agencies worldwide. The emergence of amateur researchers equipped with sophisticated detection equipment has created new challenges for information control. Individuals and small groups with ground-penetrating radar, electromagnetic sensors, and other advanced tools are increasingly able to conduct their own surveys of ancient sites. While most such efforts can be legally blocked through permit requirements and access restrictions, the democratization of detection technology makes comprehensive suppression increasingly difficult. Despite systematic efforts to control information about ancient capabilities, evidence continues to emerge through multiple channels. Leaked reports, testimonies from former insiders, and discoveries made outside official archaeological channels provide glimpses of knowledge systems whose sophistication challenges every assumption about ancient human achievement. The very intensity of efforts to suppress this information suggests its potential significance. The suppression of archaeological discoveries that demonstrate advanced ancient capabilities represents one of the most systematic information control efforts in modern history. The resources devoted to maintaining orthodox historical narratives, the coordination between institutions across multiple countries, and the legal and professional pressure applied to researchers suggests that what is being concealed may be far more significant than the public realizes. Whether this suppression protects ancient knowledge that could be dangerous if misused, maintains social stability by preserving established worldviews, or serves other purposes that remain hidden, its effectiveness has created a historical blind spot that prevents modern civilization from understanding the true extent of ancient human achievement. Standing on the Giza plateau at dawn, watching the first rays of sunlight strike the Great Pyramid's precisely angled faces, one experiences more than architectural grandeur. There's a sense of connection, as if invisible threads stretch from this monument across vast distances to similar structures on other continents. This intuition, shared by visitors and researchers alike, may be more than romantic imagination. A growing body of evidence suggests that the world's most sophisticated ancient monuments were not isolated achievements, but nodes in a global network of interconnected sites designed to function as components of a worldwide system. The mathematical relationships that connect these monuments across continents are too precise to be coincidental. The distance from Giza to Stonehenge equals exactly 1/4 of the Earth's polar circumference. The distance from Giza to the ancient city of Angkor Wat in Cambodia corresponds to specific geometric relationships involving the golden ratio and Earth's dimensional proportions. The distance between Easter Island's megalithic platforms and the Nazca lines in Peru can be expressed as exact fractions of planetary circumference using mathematical constants that weren't officially recognized until modern times. These distance relationships suggest that ancient builders possessed not only accurate knowledge of Earth's dimensions, but also sophisticated mathematical systems for expressing planetary proportions in their monument placement. The precision required to achieve such relationships would have demanded surveying and navigation capabilities that exceed what conventional archaeology attributes to ancient civilizations. The alignments between distant sites extend beyond simple distance relationships to encompass complex geometric patterns that span the globe. Lines drawn between major megalithic sites create geometric figures, triangles, pentagons, and more complex polygons, whose proportions embody mathematical constants and harmonic relationships. These patterns suggest that monument placement was coordinated according to a master plan that treated the entire planet as a construction site. The most striking example of these global alignments is the relationship between Giza, Angkor Wat, and Nazca. These three sites, separated by thousands of miles and supposedly built by unrelated civilizations, are positioned in perfect geometric relationship to each other. Lines connecting them form angles that correspond to the golden ratio, while their distances from each other can be expressed as exact multiples of significant mathematical constants. The chronology of these sites adds another layer of mystery to their geometric relationships. If conventional dating is accurate, these monuments were built over a span of nearly 3,000 years by civilizations with no documented contact, yet their mathematical relationships suggest a level of coordination that would have required not only communication between builders, but also preservation of design principles across millennia. Electromagnetic anomalies detected at many of these sites suggest they may have been positioned to take advantage of or interact with Earth's natural energy fields. The planet's magnetic field varies in intensity and direction across its surface, creating patterns that ancient builders may have understood and utilized. Many major megalithic sites are positioned at points where these magnetic variations create unusual effects that could have served practical or ceremonial purposes. Ground-penetrating radar and seismic surveys have revealed that many ancient monuments sit above underground water systems, crystalline formations or other geological features that could generate or focus electromagnetic energy. The Great Pyramid sits above underground water channels and limestone formations with high quartz content. Stonehenge is positioned above an underground chalk aquifer with unusual electromagnetic properties. Angkor Wat was built above a vast underground water management system that demonstrates sophisticated hydraulic engineering. The possibility that these sites were designed to interact with or manipulate electromagnetic fields gains support from their architectural features. Many incorporate crystalline materials, quartz, granite, and other stones with piezoelectric properties that generate electrical charges when subjected to pressure or vibration. The precision with which these materials are positioned suggests their electromagnetic properties were understood and deliberately utilized. The acoustic properties common to many of these sites provide another indication of systematic design principles operating across continents. Sound chambers within the Great Pyramid, the acoustic effects at Stonehenge, the resonant properties of chambers at Angkor Wat, and the sound-focusing properties of various megalithic sites demonstrate similar understanding of harmonic principles despite their geographical and temporal separation. These acoustic systems often incorporate identical frequency relationships, suggesting that ancient builders shared knowledge of specific sound frequencies that produce consistent effects on human consciousness and physiology. The frequencies used at different sites often correspond to mathematical multiples of each other, indicating systematic rather than coincidental relationships. The astronomical alignments built into these monuments reveal perhaps the most compelling evidence for coordinated global design. Not only do individual sites track celestial cycles with extraordinary precision, but the alignments at different sites often complement each other, creating an integrated system for observing and predicting astronomical phenomena across the entire planet. The Great Pyramid's internal passages align with specific stars and constellations as they appeared in ancient times, but these alignments were calculated to account for precession, the slow wobble of Earth's axis that causes star positions to shift over thousands of years. Similar precessional calculations appear in the alignments at other sites worldwide, suggesting that ancient builders possessed astronomical knowledge requiring observations spanning millennia. The sophistication of these astronomical calculations extends to their coordination between sites. Alignments at Giza correspond to specific celestial events that are simultaneously tracked by alignments at other monument complexes. This suggests that the global network of sites was designed to function as an integrated astronomical observatory, with different sites specializing in different aspects of celestial observation, while contributing to a comprehensive understanding of cosmic cycles. The underwater discoveries that have emerged in recent decades add another dimension to the global network hypothesis. Submerged structures off the coasts of Japan, India, Cuba, and other locations show architectural features and construction techniques that match those found at major land-based megalithic sites. These underwater monuments suggest that the global network extended to areas that are now beneath the ocean, implying that the system was more extensive than the land-based sites alone would indicate. The dating of these underwater structures, based on sea level changes and sedimentation rates, suggests that some components of the global network may be far older than conventional archaeology acknowledges. If these dating estimates are accurate, the network's construction would have spanned not centuries but millennia, requiring institutional continuity and knowledge preservation systems that exceed anything documented in historical records. The precision machining evident at sites worldwide suggests that the builders of this global network possessed manufacturing capabilities that were standardized across vast distances. Stone blocks at Pumapunku in Bolivia show machining precision that matches work at Giza and other sites thousands of miles away. The tolerances achieved in stone cutting, the drilling techniques used for creating holes and channels, and the surface finishing methods show remarkable consistency despite the different types of stone and supposedly different time periods involved. This standardization of technique suggests either that master craftsmen traveled between sites sharing their methods, or that manufacturing was centralized in locations we haven't identified. The logistics of either scenario would have required organizational capability and resource management that exceed what conventional archaeology attributes to ancient civilizations. The materials used in construction at different network sites sometimes include stones that don't occur naturally in their geographic areas, requiring transportation over vast distances. The granite used in certain chambers at Giza came from Aswan, 500 miles away. Some of the stones at Stonehenge were transported from Wales, over 150 miles distant. The basalt platforms at various Pacific Island sites were built with stone that had to be transported between islands across hundreds of miles of ocean. This long-distance material transport suggests either extensive trade networks capable of moving multi-ton stone blocks across continents and oceans, or manufacturing techniques that enabled large stones to be cut and shaped at quarry sites before transportation. Either possibility implies logistical capabilities that exceed what we normally associate with ancient civilizations. The mathematical knowledge required to coordinate this global network would have demanded not only sophisticated calculation methods, but also precise knowledge of Earth's dimensions and geometric properties. The builders would have needed to understand spherical geometry, coordinate the effects of Earth's curvature on long-distance measurements, and maintain accuracy across calculations involving planetary-scale distances. The preservation of design principles across the time spans allegedly involved in network construction would have required knowledge storage and transmission systems capable of maintaining precision across multiple generations of builders. The mathematical relationships between sites are too exact to allow for cumulative errors that would inevitably arise if information were transmitted orally or through imprecise recording methods. The energy relationships between network sites suggest that the system may have been designed to function as more than an observatory or monument complex. Some researchers propose that the global network operated as a planetary energy distribution system, utilizing Earth's natural electromagnetic fields and geological features to transmit power or information between distant locations. While such proposals venture into speculative territory, the electromagnetic anomalies detected at network sites, combined with their precise geometric relationships and sophisticated construction, suggest functions that go beyond what conventional archaeology considers. The coordination required to create such a system would have represented one of humanity's most ambitious engineering projects, surpassing in scope and complexity anything attempted by modern civilization. Whether the global network represents the achievements of a single advanced civilization operating worldwide, coordinated projects by multiple cultures sharing advanced knowledge, or something else entirely, its evidence challenges our understanding of ancient human capabilities and organization. The precision and scope of what was accomplished suggest planning and execution abilities that exceed most modern large-scale projects in their geographic scope, temporal duration, and technical sophistication. The network's existence implies that our predecessors possessed not only advanced technical knowledge, but also the organizational systems and long-term perspective necessary to coordinate projects spanning continents and centuries. Understanding how they achieved such coordination could provide insights not only into ancient capabilities, but also into approaches for addressing modern challenges that require global cooperation and long-term planning. In the spring of 1828, French scholar Jean-François Champollion, fresh from his successful decipherment of the Rosetta Stone, arrived at the Temple of Dendera in Upper Egypt. What he found there would shake his confidence in everything he thought he knew about ancient Egyptian capabilities. Carved into the temple's stone ceiling were what appeared to be detailed astronomical charts, showing the positions of stars and constellations with a precision that shouldn't have been possible for ancient observers. More disturbing still, the charts seemed to depict celestial configurations that wouldn't be visible from Egypt for thousands of years. Champollion's private letters, only recently made public, reveal his profound confusion about these and other discoveries that suggested ancient Egyptian knowledge far exceeded what their documented civilization should have possessed. He wrote of astronomical calculations that required mathematical techniques not developed until centuries after the temple's supposed construction date, of architectural precision that defied explanation given the available tools, and of textual references to knowledge sources that weren't mentioned in any other Egyptian records. What Champollion had encountered was evidence of what researchers now call selective contact moments in ancient history, when civilizations seem to have received sudden influxes of advanced knowledge from sources that remain unidentified. These episodes appear as discontinuities in the archaeological record, periods when human capabilities suddenly leap forward without the gradual development we would expect from normal technological progress. The phenomenon isn't limited to Egypt. Across the ancient world, we find similar episodes where civilizations demonstrate sudden mastery of techniques they shouldn't have possessed, followed by periods where such knowledge seems to fade or disappear entirely. The pattern suggests that advanced knowledge was being selectively shared with ancient cultures under circumstances and for purposes that remain mysterious. In ancient Mesopotamia, the Sumerian civilization appears suddenly in the historical record with a full complement of sophisticated technologies, writing systems, astronomical knowledge, mathematical concepts, architectural techniques, and legal frameworks that would take other cultures centuries to develop independently. The Sumerians themselves attributed many of these innovations to the Anunnaki beings described as coming from elsewhere to teach humanity the foundations of civilization. While mainstream archaeology interprets these accounts as mythological explanations for natural cultural development, the sudden appearance of such sophisticated systems without clear developmental phases challenges conventional models of civilizational progress. The Sumerians possessed astronomical knowledge that required centuries of observation to develop, yet this knowledge appears fully formed in their earliest texts. The ancient Indus Valley civilization presents similar anomalies. Archaeological evidence reveals a culture with sophisticated urban planning, advanced drainage systems, standardized weights and measures, and uniform architectural techniques across hundreds of settlements spanning thousands of square miles. Yet this sophisticated system appears suddenly in the archaeological record, flourishes for over 1,000 years, then disappears almost completely, leaving behind monuments and artifacts but virtually no readable texts to explain their achievements. The precision and uniformity of Indus Valley construction suggests coordinated planning and execution that required central authority and communication systems operating across vast distances. The standardization of everything from brick dimensions to drainage systems implies knowledge sharing and quality control mechanisms that exceed what we normally associate with Bronze Age civilizations. In the Americas, similar patterns appear in multiple locations and time periods. The Olmec civilization of Mesoamerica demonstrates sudden mastery of megalithic construction, sophisticated astronomical knowledge, and complex mathematical concepts that appear without clear developmental phases. Their massive stone heads, carved from basalt blocks weighing up to 40 tons, required transportation techniques and stoneworking capabilities that seem to exceed their documented technological base. The sudden appearance of advanced astronomical knowledge among Maya civilization presents another example of possible selective contact. Maya astronomical calculations demonstrate understanding of planetary cycles, eclipse prediction, and calendrical mathematics that required sophisticated observation and calculation methods. Their long-count calendar system tracks time periods spanning millions of years with mathematical precision that rivals modern astronomical calculations. The accuracy of Maya astronomical knowledge becomes even more remarkable when we consider that much of it relates to celestial phenomena that can't be observed with naked-eye astronomy from their geographic location. Their calculations of planetary orbits, particularly for planets like Mercury and Venus that are difficult to observe consistently, demonstrate knowledge that seems to exceed what direct observation could provide. These sudden appearances of advanced knowledge are often accompanied by cultural accounts of contact with beings described as teachers, gods, or visitors from elsewhere. While mainstream archaeology interprets these accounts as mythological, their consistency across different cultures and time periods suggests they may preserve memories of actual historical events involving knowledge transfer from advanced sources. The Viracocha legends of the Andes describe a teacher figure who appeared during a time of chaos and darkness to instruct the ancestors of the Inca in architecture, agriculture, astronomy, and social organization. The precision of the architectural techniques attributed to Viracocha's influence, visible in the megalithic stonework at sites like Tiwanaku and Pumapunku, suggest that these accounts may preserve historical memories of actual technology transfer events. In Africa, the Dogon people of Mali have preserved astronomical knowledge about the star system Sirius that includes details about binary companions and orbital periods that weren't confirmed by Western astronomy until the 20th century. The Dogon attribute this knowledge to contact with beings from the Sirius system, describing them as amphibious creatures who shared advanced knowledge during ancient visits to Earth. The sophistication of Dogon astronomical knowledge extends far beyond what they could have derived from naked-eye observation. Their understanding of Sirius B, a white dwarf star invisible without telescopic equipment, includes accurate information about its orbital period, density, and relationship to Sirius A. They also possess knowledge of additional stellar companions that modern astronomy has only recently detected. The sudden appearance of metallurgical knowledge in various ancient cultures presents additional evidence of possible selective contact. The techniques for smelting and working with complex alloys often appear suddenly in the archaeological record without the experimental phases we would expect from independent development. The precision of ancient metallurgy, particularly in cultures like the Moche of Peru and the various African ironworking societies, demonstrates understanding of chemistry and materials science that seems advanced for their time periods. The global distribution of similar metallurgical techniques across cultures with no documented contact suggests either parallel independent development, which is statistically improbable for such complex technologies, or knowledge transfer from common sources. The consistency of techniques across vast geographical and temporal distances implies systematic sharing of technological knowledge. In many cases, the advanced knowledge appears to be selectively distributed rather than comprehensively shared. Cultures receive expertise in specific areas of astronomy, architecture, metallurgy, or mathematics, without corresponding development in other technical fields. This selective distribution suggests that knowledge transfer was purposeful and controlled rather than accidental or comprehensive. The temporary nature of many of these knowledge episodes adds another layer to the mystery. Advanced capabilities often appear for relatively brief periods before fading or disappearing from the cultural record. The precision stonework at Pumapunku, for example, represents a level of technological sophistication that appears suddenly in the archaeological record, produces several impressive monuments, then largely disappears without trace. This pattern of appearance, brief flowering, then disappearance, suggests that knowledge transfer was conditional and temporary rather than permanent. Either the sources of advanced knowledge withdrew their support, or the receiving cultures lost the ability to maintain and apply the techniques they had been taught. The selectivity extends to which cultures received advanced knowledge and under what circumstances. Not all ancient civilizations show evidence of sudden capability leaps or contact with advanced knowledge sources. The phenomenon appears to be concentrated in specific geographic regions and time periods, suggesting that contact was targeted rather than random. Geographic patterns in these episodes suggest that certain locations on Earth may have been particularly suitable for contact events, either due to geographic features, electromagnetic properties, or other factors that made them attractive to advanced knowledge sources. Many of the sites where evidence of selective contact is strongest are also locations where major megalithic monuments were later constructed. The timing of contact episodes often corresponds to periods of environmental stress, social upheaval, or transition in the receiving cultures. This suggests that advanced knowledge may have been provided during crisis periods when civilizations needed assistance to survive or adapt to changing conditions. The long-term effects of these contact episodes on human development appear to be significant but carefully limited. While receiving cultures often made substantial advances in specific technical areas, they typically didn't develop the comprehensive technological base that would have enabled them to replicate or extend the knowledge they received. This suggests that knowledge transfer was designed to provide specific capabilities rather than general technological advancement. The evidence for selective contact challenges conventional models of human technological development by suggesting that major advances in ancient knowledge may have resulted from external assistance rather than independent discovery. If accurate, this interpretation would require fundamental revision of our understanding of how human civilization developed and what role outside influences may have played in shaping our technological capabilities. Whether these contact episodes involved interaction with survivors of earlier advanced civilizations, visitors from other locations on Earth, or sources from elsewhere entirely, their impact on ancient human development appears undeniable. The sudden appearance of sophisticated knowledge systems, their selective distribution among different cultures, and their often temporary nature suggest a pattern of guided development that challenges our assumptions about the independence and gradual nature of human civilizational progress. The Great Pyramid stands not merely as an architectural achievement, but as an encoded message written in the universal languages of mathematics, astronomy, and physics. Unlike texts that can be mistranslated or corrupted over time, the information embedded in the pyramid structure remains precisely preserved after 4 millennia, waiting for each generation to decode whatever aspects of its message they possess the knowledge to understand. The mathematical constants embedded within the monument represent the most direct form of this encoded information. Pi appears not once but repeatedly throughout the structure's proportions, expressed with a precision that extends to multiple decimal places. The golden ratio manifests in the relationships between the pyramid's height, base dimensions, and internal chamber proportions. These mathematical constants weren't arbitrarily chosen for aesthetic purposes. They represent fundamental principles that govern natural phenomena throughout the universe. The encoding of pi in the pyramid's height-to-base ratio creates a mathematical relationship that would be immediately recognizable to any technologically advanced civilization, regardless of their cultural background or numbering system. Pi is a universal constant that appears wherever circular motion or wave phenomena occur, making it an ideal foundation for communication across temporal or cultural boundaries. But the mathematical message extends far beyond individual constants to encompass relationships that demonstrate advanced understanding of planetary and cosmic mechanics. The pyramid's base perimeter, when multiplied by specific mathematical factors, yields distances that correspond to Earth's circumference, the distance to the Sun, and other astronomical measurements with remarkable accuracy. These relationships suggest that the builders possessed precise knowledge of planetary dimensions and solar system proportions. The incorporation of Earth's dimensional data into the pyramid structure serves multiple purposes. It demonstrates that the builders understood our planet as a three-dimensional object, with measurable properties rather than a flat surface extending indefinitely in all directions. It proves they possess surveying and calculation capabilities necessary to measure planetary distances accurately. Most significantly, it establishes a dimensional baseline that enables other encoded information to be correctly scaled and interpreted. The astronomical alignments built into the pyramid structure preserve information about celestial mechanics that extends far beyond simple star maps. The monument's internal passages track not only the positions of specific stars and constellations, but also their movement over time due to precession, the slow wobble of Earth's axis that causes star positions to shift over periods of thousands of years. These precessional calculations required astronomical observations spanning centuries if not millennia, suggesting that the pyramid's builders either maintained observational records across extended time periods or had access to such records compiled by earlier observers. The precision with which precession is tracked in the monument's alignments demonstrates mathematical sophistication that rivals modern astronomical calculations. The acoustic properties engineered into the pyramid's chambers encode information about harmonic relationships and their effects on human consciousness. The resonant frequencies generated within the king's chamber correspond to specific brainwave patterns associated with altered states of consciousness, meditation, and enhanced learning capacity. These acoustic effects weren't accidental byproducts of construction, but deliberately engineered features that demonstrate advanced understanding of psychoacoustics. The harmonic ratios built into the chamber dimensions create resonant relationships that mirror the mathematical principles underlying musical harmony. These same ratios appear in the orbital relationships between planets, the frequency patterns of electromagnetic radiation, and the structural proportions of organic systems throughout nature. By incorporating these harmonic principles into the monument's design, the builders created a physical demonstration of the mathematical relationships that unify seemingly disparate natural phenomena. The preservation of this information in stone rather than in written text serves important practical purposes. Stone monuments can survive environmental catastrophes that would destroy written records. They resist degradation from time, weather, and human interference far better than any written medium. Most importantly, they preserve mathematical and astronomical information with absolute precision across unlimited time periods. The pyramid's message transcends linguistic barriers that would make written communication across vast time periods impossible. Languages change, writing systems become obsolete, and cultural contexts shift dramatically over centuries and millennia. Mathematical relationships and astronomical alignments remain constant regardless of cultural changes, making them ideal media for preserving information across extended time periods. The redundancy built into the pyramid's encoding systems ensures that the message remains readable, even if portions of the structure are damaged or destroyed. The same mathematical relationships appear in multiple forms throughout the monument in dimensional ratios, angular measurements, chamber proportions, and passage alignments. This redundancy protects the information against partial loss, while confirming the intentional nature of the encoding. The complexity of the encoded message suggests it was designed to be decoded gradually as human knowledge and measurement capabilities advanced. Early observers could recognize basic mathematical relationships and astronomical alignments. More sophisticated observers could detect the precessional calculations and harmonic engineering. Modern observers with precision measurement tools can identify dimensional relationships that encode planetary and solar system data. This graduated revelation system ensures that each generation can extract information appropriate to their level of technological and mathematical development, while leaving additional layers of meaning for future discovery. The pyramid functions as a time-release educational device that continues yielding new information as human knowledge advances. The universality of the mathematical and physical principles embedded in the monument makes the message readable by any technologically advanced civilization, regardless of their specific cultural development. Pi, the golden ratio, harmonic relationships, and astronomical cycles operate according to universal laws that would be recognized by any scientifically sophisticated society. This universal readability suggests that the message may have been intended not only for future human civilizations, but for any intelligent observers who might encounter Earth. The mathematical and astronomical content would serve as proof of technological sophistication, while demonstrating understanding of universal physical principles that any advanced civilization would recognize. The warning aspects of the encoded message become apparent when we consider the precision required to achieve the monument's mathematical relationships. The level of coordination, technological capability, and long-term planning necessary to encode such complex information in a massive stone structure demonstrates civilizational achievements that modern humanity has not yet matched. The contrast between the sophistication demonstrated by the monument and the relatively primitive tools and techniques attributed to its builders in conventional archaeology suggests that our understanding of ancient human capabilities is fundamentally incomplete. The pyramid stands as evidence that previous civilizations achieved technological and organizational capabilities that exceeded what we normally consider possible for ancient societies. The temporal aspects of the message add urgency to its mathematical and astronomical content. Many of the monument's alignments and calculations reference time periods and astronomical cycles that extend far into the future. Some alignments won't achieve their maximum precision for thousands of years, suggesting that the message was encoded with specific future dates in mind. These future-oriented aspects of the message suggest that its full meaning may not become apparent until specific temporal conditions are met. The pyramid may function not only as a repository of ancient knowledge, but as a calendar or countdown device designed to signal when certain information should be acted upon, or when particular events should be expected. The technological sophistication required to create such a temporally complex message implies that its builders possessed not only advanced mathematical and astronomical knowledge, but also sophisticated understanding of how information should be preserved and transmitted across vast time periods. They understood that their message might need to survive not only environmental catastrophes, but also the rise and fall of entire civilizations. The pyramid's message ultimately challenges us to reconsider our assumptions about the relationship between ancient and modern civilizations. Rather than representing primitive attempts to build impressive monuments, the Great Pyramid demonstrates mathematical, astronomical, and engineering sophistication that equals or exceeds modern capabilities in several important areas. The builders of the pyramid understood principles of information encoding, redundancy, universal communication, and long-term preservation that modern civilization is only beginning to appreciate. Their success in preserving complex technical information across 4 millennia provides a model for how advanced knowledge can be maintained through periods of civilizational decline and recovery. The message encoded in the Great Pyramid suggests that we are not the first human civilization to achieve high levels of technological sophistication, nor will we likely be the last. The precision and universality of the information preserved in stone implies that its creators understood themselves as part of a longer sequence of rising and falling civilizations, each contributing to a cumulative increase in human knowledge and capability. Whether we prove capable of reading and acting upon the pyramid's complete message may determine whether our own civilization joins the ranks of those whose knowledge was permanently lost, or becomes part of the ongoing development of human potential that the monument seems designed to support. As we stand at the beginning of the 21st century, armed with technologies that would seem miraculous to previous generations, we find ourselves confronting the same fundamental questions that have haunted human consciousness since the first person looked up at the stars and wondered about our place in the cosmos. Yet now these questions carry new urgency, for we may be approaching what could be called a threshold moment, a point where our advancing capabilities will force us to confront truths about our past and possibilities for our future that will fundamentally reshape our understanding of what it means to be human. The evidence we have examined, from the impossible precision of ancient monuments to the global networks of interconnected sites, from the mathematical messages encoded in stone to the patterns of concealment that have hidden advanced knowledge for millennia, suggests that we are not the first human civilization to reach high levels of technological sophistication. The implications of this possibility extend far beyond academic debates about ancient history, to touch every aspect of how we understand our current predicament and future possibilities. If the Great Pyramid and similar monuments around the world represent the achievements of civilizations whose capabilities equaled or exceeded our own, then we must confront the sobering reality that advanced human societies have risen before and, for reasons we don't yet understand, either collapsed or deliberately concealed themselves from subsequent generations. This pattern raises profound questions about the sustainability of technological civilization and the factors that determine whether such societies endure or disappear. The precision with which these ancient monuments encode information about planetary dimensions, astronomical cycles, and mathematical constants suggests that their builders possessed scientific knowledge that took our own civilization centuries to rediscover. The global coordination evident in the placement and design of megalithic sites implies organizational capabilities that exceed most modern international projects. The engineering techniques required to move and position massive stone blocks with tolerances measured in millimeters demonstrate mastery of materials science and construction methods that we struggle to replicate today. Yet despite these impressive capabilities, these advanced ancient civilizations left behind only monuments and mysteries. Their knowledge systems, their technologies, their understanding of how to maintain stable societies across extended time periods, all of this has been lost or hidden so effectively that we have remained largely unaware of their achievements until very recently. The question that haunts every consideration of this evidence is simple. If they achieved so much, why did it not endure? The pattern of concealment that characterizes so much ancient advanced knowledge suggests that previous civilizations may have understood something about the dangers of unrestricted technological development that we are only beginning to appreciate. The mystery schools, the initiated practices, the careful guarding of certain techniques and capabilities all point toward recognition that knowledge without corresponding wisdom could be catastrophically dangerous. Our own experience with nuclear weapons provides a vivid demonstration of this principle. Within decades of splitting the atom, we developed devices capable of destroying human civilization, and we came perilously close to using them during various Cold War crises. If ancient civilizations achieved similar or greater technological capabilities, they would have faced similar choices about how to manage knowledge that could easily be misused. The selective contact episodes we examined suggest that advanced knowledge has been carefully managed throughout human history, shared only when recipients demonstrated the wisdom and restraint necessary to use it responsibly. This pattern implies that there may be gatekeepers of ancient knowledge who continue to monitor human development, sharing information only when they judge us ready to handle it, without causing catastrophic damage. The environmental crisis facing modern civilization adds another layer of urgency to these considerations. Our current technological trajectory is clearly unsustainable in its consumption of resources and production of waste. Climate change, ecosystem collapse, and pollution are forcing us to recognize that technological capability without ecological wisdom leads towards civilizational suicide. If previous advanced societies face similar crises, their responses might hold crucial insights for our own survival. The possibility that sustainable advanced civilizations have existed before, and may continue to exist in concealed form, suggests that the environmental and social challenges facing modern humanity are not insurmountable. The techniques for living in harmony with natural systems while maintaining high technological capabilities may have already been developed and tested. The question is whether we can access this knowledge and apply it before our current trajectory leads to collapse. Recent advances in detection technology, ground-penetrating radar, electromagnetic scanning, satellite imaging, and other tools are beginning to reveal the true extent of hidden ancient infrastructure. Vast underground complexes, global networks of monuments, and sophisticated engineering projects that dwarf anything in the conventional historical record are becoming visible for the first time. These discoveries suggest that we're on the verge of uncovering evidence that will revolutionize our understanding of human history and capabilities. But technological advancement also brings increased surveillance and control capabilities that could make the concealment of advanced knowledge more difficult than ever before. If hidden civilizations or knowledge systems exist, they may be facing pressure to reveal themselves or risk discovery through increasingly sophisticated detection methods. This could force decisions about contact that have been delayed for centuries or millennia. The acceleration of human technological development over the past century suggests that we may be approaching capabilities that rival those of our ancient predecessors. Our growing understanding of genetics, quantum physics, materials science, and information systems may be bringing us to the threshold where we can finally comprehend the technologies and knowledge systems that have been preserved in hidden form throughout history. Artificial intelligence and quantum computing represent particularly significant developments in this regard. These technologies could provide the computational power necessary to decode the mathematical and astronomical information embedded in ancient monuments, to analyze the global patterns of megalithic sites, and to understand the principles underlying technologies that have remained mysterious for thousands of years. The search for extraterrestrial intelligence has also reached levels of sophistication that might finally detect evidence of advanced civilizations, whether located elsewhere in the universe or concealed here on Earth. The same detection methods and signal processing techniques being used to search for alien communications could potentially identify the signatures of hidden technological systems operating within our own planet. Genetic research is revealing information about human origins and development that challenges conventional models of how our species evolved and spread across the planet. Evidence of advanced seafaring, sophisticated tool use, and complex social organization extending much further back in time than previously thought suggests that human technological capability may have deeper roots than we have recognized. The convergence of these various lines of technological and scientific advancement may be creating conditions where concealed knowledge systems can no longer remain hidden. The threshold we may be approaching is not just one of technological capability, but of forced revelation, a point where the evidence for advanced ancient civilizations becomes too overwhelming to ignore or suppress. Religious and spiritual traditions worldwide contain prophecies about times when hidden knowledge will be revealed, when ancient secrets will come to light, and when humanity will face choices that determine its future development. Whether these traditions preserve actual historical information or represent intuitive recognition of cyclical patterns in human development, they suggest that periods of revelation and transformation are recurring features of human history. The environmental and social crises facing modern civilization may be forcing us towards such a transformation, whether we are prepared for it or not. Climate change, resource depletion, ecological collapse, and social fragmentation are creating pressures that may make fundamental changes in how we organize society and manage technology unavoidable. These pressures could create the crisis conditions that have historically triggered the revelation of concealed knowledge systems. The question facing our generation may not be whether we will discover evidence of advanced ancient civilizations, but whether we will be ready to understand and responsibly apply the knowledge that such discoveries might bring. The patterns we have examined suggest that access to advanced capabilities depends not just on technological sophistication, but on the wisdom and ethical development necessary to use such capabilities without causing catastrophic damage. The threshold moment we may be approaching represents both unprecedented opportunity and unprecedented danger. If we prove ready for the knowledge and capabilities that may become available, we could solve the environmental and social challenges that threaten our civilization, while developing sustainable ways of living that endure for millennia. If we prove unready, we could join the ranks of previous advanced civilizations that collapsed or concealed themselves other than risk the consequences of unrestricted technological development. The Great Pyramid and the other monuments we have examined may ultimately serve as both message and test. They preserve information about advanced capabilities while demonstrating the precision, coordination, and long-term thinking necessary to create something that endures. Whether we prove capable of reading their message and applying its lessons may determine whether our own civilization develops the qualities necessary to survive and thrive in the centuries and millennia ahead. The threshold moment is upon us. The question that remains is whether we will step through it with the wisdom and restraint that the evidence suggests is necessary for advanced civilizations to endure, or whether we will join the list of those whose achievements became mysteries for future generations to ponder. The choice, as it has always been, remains ours. As dawn breaks over the Giza plateau, casting long shadows from monuments that have witnessed the rise and fall of countless human generations, we find ourselves at the end of an investigation that has taken us far from the familiar narratives of conventional history into realms of possibility that challenge every assumption we hold about our past and our potential. The evidence we have examined, mathematical precision that exceeds modern capabilities, astronomical knowledge that required centuries of observation to develop, engineering techniques that we struggle to replicate, global coordination that surpasses our current international projects, points toward a conclusion that is both humbling and inspiring. We may not be the first human civilization to achieve high levels of technological and intellectual sophistication. The Great Pyramid stands not merely as an impressive ancient monument, but as a message preserved in the universal languages of mathematics and stone, encoded with information that becomes more comprehensible as our own knowledge advances. Its builders understood that civilizations rise and fall, that knowledge can be lost, and that the most important information must be preserved in forms that transcend the limitations of language, culture, and time. The patterns of concealment we have traced through ancient mystery schools and modern suppression efforts suggest that advanced knowledge has been carefully managed throughout human history, shared only when recipients demonstrate the wisdom necessary to use it responsibly. This guardianship may continue to operate today, monitoring our development and waiting for signs that we have achieved the ethical maturity necessary to handle capabilities that could transform our civilization or destroy it. The global network of monuments we have explored implies coordination and planning that spans continents and centuries, suggesting that our predecessors possessed not only advanced technical knowledge, but also the organizational wisdom necessary to undertake projects of unprecedented scope and duration. Their achievements remind us that human potential extends far beyond what we have yet realized. Yet for all their impressive accomplishments, these advanced ancient civilizations left behind only monuments and mysteries. Their knowledge systems, their technologies, their solutions to the challenges of sustainable development, all disappeared so completely that we have remained largely unaware of their achievements until very recently. This pattern raises profound questions about the factors that determine whether advanced civilizations endure or vanish. As we face our own environmental and social challenges, as we develop technologies that could either solve humanity's greatest problems or create unprecedented dangers, the example of our predecessors becomes increasingly relevant. The precision and permanence of their message in stone suggests they understood that knowledge without wisdom leads to catastrophe, that technological capability without ethical development results in collapse. The threshold moment we may be approaching offers both unprecedented opportunity and unprecedented responsibility. The same technologies that are revealing the true extent of ancient achievements, ground-penetrating radar, electromagnetic scanning, quantum computing, genetic analysis, could also provide the keys to understanding and applying the knowledge these achievements represent. But the patterns we have examined suggest that access to such knowledge depends on more than technological capability. The mystery schools understood that advanced knowledge requires corresponding wisdom, that power without restraint leads to destruction. The concealment systems that have preserved ancient knowledge for millennia appear designed to ensure that it becomes available only when we demonstrate readiness to use it constructively. The question that haunts every discovery we make about our past is whether we will prove worthy of what we might uncover. The precision of ancient achievements suggests that their creators possessed not only advanced techniques, but also the patience, cooperation, and long-term perspective necessary to create something that endures. Whether our own civilization can develop these qualities may determine whether we join the ranks of those who build monuments that inspire future generations, or become another mystery for them to puzzle over. The Great Pyramid and its companion monuments around the world stand as challenges carved in stone. They remind us that human capability extends far beyond what we have yet achieved, while demonstrating the precision and permanence that become possible when knowledge is guided by wisdom. Their message is clear. We can build to last for millennia. We can encode our understanding in forms that transcend time, and we can create achievements that inspire and guide future generations. But first, we must prove ourselves worthy of the knowledge and responsibility that such capabilities require. The monuments of our predecessors wait patiently for us to develop the qualities necessary to understand their message and apply their lessons. Whether we will rise to meet this challenge or become another cautionary tale embedded in stone for future archaeologists to contemplate remains the great question of our time. The investigation continues, not only in the archives and beneath the sands of distant plateaus, but in our own development as a species capable of wisdom as well as knowledge, restraint as well as power. The threshold awaits, and the choice, as it always has been, remains ours to make. In the quiet darkness of the underground chambers, in the mathematical relationships that govern planetary motion, in the harmonic frequencies that affect human consciousness, the message endures. We are capable of far more than we know, but only if we develop the wisdom to handle what we might achieve. The monuments of our predecessors stand as both promise and warning, reminding us that the greatest human achievements come not from power alone, but from power guided by understanding, patience, and respect for the deeper patterns that connect all life. The search for our origins and our potential continues, and each discovery brings us closer to understanding not only what we have been, but what we might yet become. The ancient builders knew something we are only beginning to remember, that the true measure of civilization is not what it can destroy, but what it can preserve, not what it can conquer, but what it can create that will inspire and guide those who come after. Welcome to the next chapter of human discovery, where the past and future converge in the eternal present of seeking truth, understanding our place in the cosmos, and building foundations that will endure long after we have returned to the dust from which the pyramids themselves were raised. The investigation continues, and the greatest discoveries may yet lie ahead.